think that the conference was actually very good in pointing to some really different models and different ways that what the public sector does can be very enabling of private sector. So probably the most direct thing that we do is just provide some capital that isn't always otherwise available. And sometimes it's because of country risk, sometimes perceived technology risk. But our willingness to do more due diligence than a normal lender is sometimes sufficient. And then once we've shown that something works, then that can be enough to get other commercial lenders to come in. So that's probably the first and most direct way. But there also are times when money per se isn't the biggest challenge. In fact, very often it's creating an investment climate, and it can be policy risk or currency risk or some combination, and it's can be something where an IFI like IFC or ADB here can open up a market just by a public-private partnership and providing technical assistance for a few $100,000. It doesn't necessarily have to be a multi-million-dollar investment. Well, that's actually a great point, because these days a lot of what the countries which manage us want us to do is not to go to the countries which already have the most access to funds. So a lot of our value added is in fact helping in newer, less developed markets. And an example that relates to your question is every year we put out a report called Doing Business, which ranks countries by the ease of doing business. So we look at how long does it take to get a permit for a new business? How good is the legal protections for contracts? If somebody walks out on you, can you sue them? Can you recover? All of these kinds of things. And again, that report is not itself an investment. It's just a source of information for investors. But what we found is it can be pretty influential. And countries, when they don't rank well, will sometimes come to us and they'll say, what can we do to move up that list? And there are quite a few countries who in fact have made remarkable improvements in the last 5, 6, 7 years, just based on working with IFC, not only IFC, but we've had a very active role there. And when they move up that list, they will take out ads in the Financial Times and say, come to whatever in West Africa, we're the top ranked country in terms of ease of doing business according to the IFC and World Bank. So I think it's just indicative of the fact that there's a lot of different things that can try to help open those markets. Good example of an area that I thought was very innovative here were a number of banks and international institutions who are trying to serve smaller businesses, SMEs, and lower income, even very poor, bottom of the pyramid markets with things like solar lanterns and products, and to do that in a commercial way, not assume that because people are poor that they can't be approached with a commercial product. And those are very exciting, both from a development perspective, obviously, because of the opportunity to try to help people who really need it, but also because it's a huge market. You know, we're talking about 1.5, 2 billion people without access to electricity, even more who live on under $2 a day. So if we can find ways to serve those people, that's a business. That's a real development impact. And there were several participants here describing very interesting and exciting initiatives trying to serve that market, making loans over cell phones without branch banks to keep down overhead. And the fact that those are being done by the private sector and being done in a commercial way, to me was one of the really exciting things. Maybe at the opposite extreme, the other issue that came through to me very emphatically is the workshop has in the title Scaling Up. And I think I leave here with a sense that there's a lot of terrific things being done and a lot of very passionate, excited people who've been working on it for a long time. But the scale of the challenge is so great, not only in terms of development, but even more so in some ways when you talk about climate change. The need to shift investment and the need to do it in a relatively short period of time is now becoming kind of scary. And a lot of what we heard from even some of the most successful stories is how long they took, how patient we need to be, and how one success in one country is not necessarily directly applicable or transferable to another. That you look at something that worked in the Philippines and you have to do it pretty differently in Thailand or Vietnam. And that means that scaling up is a very challenging notion. And that may be the one respect in which I leave here equally or more concerned than when I came.